Hello and welcome back to the Buffy Book Club, where I'll be doing a retrospective review of the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer novels. There won't be any long-winded introduction today, I'm just going to jump right into the second book, so without further ado, this is Coyote Moon. Of shapeshifters and skinwalkers, the seedy carnival looks like just the thing to give Buffy and her best buds, Xander and Willow, a break from staking bloodsuckers. Some greasy food, a few cheap thrills, what more could a Slayer ask for? But then Buffy senses something evil behind this carnival. Xander and Willow aren't so sure. They don't buy Buffy's notion that the carnies are somehow connected to the corpses turning up around Sunnydale. It doesn't help that her two best friends are each interested in someone at the carnival, which puts the burden of proof on Buffy. Can she find out what's going on in time to save her friends? Or has the Slayer become the prey? Coyote Moon was written by John Vornholt and released in early January 1998. John Vornholt only has one other Buffyverse credit, the Buffy Angel crossover novel Seven Crows, which was released in 2003. In the 80s, he wrote some animated cartoons, Ghostbusters and Dennis the Menace, a lot of Star Trek tie-in novels, Babylon 5, Alex Mack. And I guess he was a stuntman at some point in his life as well, which is pretty cool. This book falls into the young adult category. It's a short 164 pages. It's set in the summer between seasons 1 and 2, so it does not follow continuity of the show, like Halloween Reign. Buffy's in Sunnydale, she's hanging out with Xander and Willow, but in the show we know Buffy was actually at her father's in LA between those seasons, and she was going through some pretty traumatic shit having just died at the end of the last season. I was really excited to reread this one. It was one of the first I read. It came in that Buffy eBay bundle that my mom bought me. It's a very well-loved copy. It's an ex-library book, so it still has all the stamps and stickers and a little card slot on the back of the front cover. I do remember liking this one as a kid. There were some plot points I remember, but most of it I had forgotten. And with all that being said, let's get into the book. This is the story of Coyote Moon. We begin with Buffy leaving the Bronze after a night out. It's a beautiful summer night outside. It's warm, but there's a nice breeze. Buffy listens, and in the distance, she thinks she can hear coyotes barking and howling. She's joined by Willow and Xander, and they decide to go get some ice cream before heading home. The three take their time walking through a suburban neighborhood, enjoying the nice night. They're chatting about how much they've enjoyed the summer. It's almost over. School's starting next week, and Willow's excited for that. Xander's been trying to grow a beard all summer, and it doesn't look too good, but the girls are supportive. That's nice of them. There's a carnival coming in a couple days, and they're all excited to go. It's going to be a nice way to end the summer. And out of nowhere, a pack of 15 to 20 coyotes start crossing the street in front of them. They're sniffing around. It seems like they're on the hunt for something. Buffy feels a little uneasy. She's defensive, and her Slayer senses are tingling. Willow and Xander thinks it's normal. They see coyotes all the time in Sunnydale. They're just curious. They're not a threat to humans. Buffy grew up in the hills of Los Angeles. She's seen coyotes too, but something about this is just fishy. They continue to watch the coyotes do their thing and cross the street, but there's one coyote that stares directly at Buffy with weird yellow eyes. It's older than the rest of the other coyotes, and Buffy can sense a sort of wisdom about it, and it just stares directly at Buffy before disappearing and running off with the rest of the pack. Buffy turns to Xander and Willow and is all, "That was weird, right?" And Willow and Xander are like, "Nah, they're just coyotes. They're strange. They're just doing their own thing. You don't have to worry." And with all that out of the way, Willow decides she's tired and is going to pass on ice cream. They'll all meet up at the carnival in a couple days and have a good time, and they all head home. Some ice cream teas, I'd be pissed off. Buffy is woken up that night by coyotes howling and barking outside her bedroom window. She looks at the clock and it's 4 a.m. Still feeling uneasy about them, she sneaks out her window to investigate. Outside, she spots them running across the road with something small and furry in one of their mouths. Her middle-aged neighbor appears and starts frantically running towards them, telling them to stop. They have her baby. There's some slight panic, but we find out that the baby is actually this woman's dog, a pug-nosed chow named Tiger that was taken from her backyard. That is heartbreaking. But the coyotes are so far gone, it's too late. There's nothing they can do. Buffy consoles her, tell them they'll call animal control in the morning, and Buffy walks her home. That's really nice. Poor Tiger. I hate that. But Buffy walks the neighbor home. She's really sad, of course. She tells Buffy about Coyote Moon. It's a story that her grandmother used to tell her. It comes in August, the weather gets really hot, the moon rises red, and it brings the coyotes. The neighbor thanks Buffy for her help, and she heads home to go back to sleep. As she's walking, all she can hear are coyotes howling in the distance. We flash forward a couple days to the day of the carnival. Buffy wakes up late, and the author really nails that feeling of summer vacation as a teenager. Like getting up late, your parents are already at work, you can eat brownies for breakfast, there's no burden, no responsibilities. Ugh, I miss those days. Buffy, Willow, and Xander arrive at the carnival, and what was once a vacant lot has just been completely transformed. Neon lights, loud sounds, music, people laughing, screaming, rides, food, so much greasy food. It's huge, it's busy, and they're excited to have some fun. Strangely, one of the first things Buffy notices is how young and hot all of the carnies are, the workers who run the food stands, the games, and the rides. She's used to them being pretty rough looking and older, seedy and greasy. But no, all these carnies, they're young and hot. She's doing some people watching and noticing everyone coupled up. She thinks about wanting a boyfriend, but how it's tough to juggle her normal life with her Slayer duties. We get an Angel mention. He's not in the book, but she does think about him here. They get to a dunk tank where there's a clown with a microphone insulting the crowd. Are dunk tanks still a thing? I remember them when I was a kid. They're just like a pool of water with someone seated above it, and you throw balls at a switch, and if you hit the switch, the person above the pool falls into it. So the clown is sitting on that thing. Clearly, I'm not that great at explaining things. The clown has an assistant. This is Rose. She's hot and she's wearing a scantily clad outfit. If you sink the clown, you can win a kiss from Rose. And believe me, men are trying. They are trying hard, but failing. And the clown is just up there insulting everybody. Rose notices Xander and she tries to tempt him. And he wants to win a kiss because he's, well, Xander. And then the clown has the audacity to insult Xander's beard. So Xander's like, let me have him. You get 5 balls to try to knock him into the pool. He misses the first, he misses the second, he misses the third and fourth, the clown letting him have it, and Buffy takes the last one from Xander. At first Xander's like, what the heck? But then he sees the vision and he's like, ah, okay, you get him. And the clown is, of course, rude to Buffy. She's just a girl. Hey, Rose, give her an extra ball. And Buffy looks at him and she just goes, I only need one. And she knows she shouldn't show off. She thinks of Giles and how he would disapprove. But come on, it's too good to pass up. And she throws that ball and hits it right on the switch. The clown goes right into the water. Rose is a little suspicious. That was a little too good. But Xander, of course, wants his kiss. Rose tells him to come back in a half hour when she's on her break. And at this point, Xander just becomes insufferable. He's distracted. All he's thinking about is Rose. All he's thinking about is kissing her. Buffy and Willow want to have fun, but Xander's just distracted. They all ride the Ferris wheel, and the carny operating the ride isn't young and hot like the other carnies. He's the seedy and old type that Buffy remembers. But he stares at Buffy, and there's something very familiar about his eyes. I wonder. They walk through the alley of games, Xander just checking his watch, making sure he's going to be back in time to meet Rose. And we meet Lonnie. Lonnie is running one of the games where you throw darts at balloons and you win a prize. He's blonde, he's hot, he's a hunk, kind of cowboy-esque, and he's very charming and he's interested in Buffy. But Buffy, she's not vibing with him. She doesn't like him. But Willow is clearly interested and he changes his focus to her. Lonnie is working his charm and he's flirting with Willow, very similarly to how Rose was with Xander. He's giving her tips, free games, and Lonnie has all of Willow's attention. Buffy's feeling a little annoyed by her friends. It was supposed to be the 3 of them together having a great time. But she realizes she's being a little unfair and she shouldn't take it all on them just because she's feeling deprived, which is pretty mature. As Willow and Xander are distracted, she takes a little time to herself and wanders behind the gaming alley into the outskirts of the carnival. Something still feels a little bit off about the whole situation. She notices some trash cans, and with her Slayer senses tingling again, she decides to do a little investigating. Something shiny catches her eye, and she picks it up. It's a dog collar. The name on the collar? Tiger, the dog from the other night. Buffy feels a presence behind her and turns around. It's the old Carney, and he's holding a wrench. Buffy realizes why his eyes are so familiar. This Carney is the Coyote from the other night. What a twist. Am I right? He questions her. What are you doing back here? And Buffy, with her quick thinking, pretends to have to vomit from riding rides. And anytime he approaches her, she just starts dry heaving. It's actually pretty funny. He points her towards the porta potties, and she thanks him Mr. and he introduces himself as Hopscotch. Buffy's mind is racing at the thought of were-coyotes. She can't find Willow and Xander. She checks the dunk tank, darts, and she's freaking out a little bit. But she just decides to calm down and try to have some fun. That's what this is all about. I found this pretty funny and interesting, but Buffy sees Cordelia and the Cordettes and just decides to spend some time with them, and they all just accept Buffy's presence. And it's just a few sentences, and Cordelia has no lines. And Cordelia and Buffy might not be the best of friends, but there's always been a quiet respect about them that I've always enjoyed. And this is after Out of Mind, Out of Sight and Prophecy Girl, so Cordelia is kind of involved, but not really. And I just love the thought that, yeah, Buffy can just chill with us, why not? And as a major Cordelia fan, I am pretty upset about her non-presence in these first few books, but her time is coming, she'll be more involved. Buffy reunites with Xander and Willow, and they are both completely head over heels for Rose and Lonnie. Buffy learns they have a double date with them before the carnival opens tomorrow. Buffy decides not to tell them about the coyotes and the dog collar she found, fearing she'll just be dismissed like she was the other night. Xander's completely hopeless, no surprise, but Buffy tries to talk some sense into Willow to no avail. She says Lonnie is a perfect gentleman, and Willow brings up Angel. Like, Angel's a vampire. Willow just wants to have a little bit of fun. Despite all the tension, the three go off and enjoy the rest of the night at the carnival. Later that night at home, Buffy hears the coyotes howl again, and she's ready to investigate. She's geared up, she's dressed all in black, and she's out that window. It's a foggy night outside, but she spots them fairly quickly, keeping a safe distance and staying hidden behind trees and houses as she follows them down roads. The coyotes spot a cat and chase it up a tree. They're going wild, barking and howling. They want this cat. Buffy's trying to think of a way to save it, when all of a sudden the clouds reveal a full moon. The coyotes stop. It's like a beacon. No more barking, no more howling. They are focused on the moon, looking straight up, and they run into the nearby cemetery. Yay, I'm happy the cat lives. That's nice. Buffy follows the coyotes into the cemetery and takes refuge on top of a hill. She observes the coyotes gathered around a gravesite. There's a giant monument with a stone spire of a moon at the top. The coyotes start to silently circle the monument. Every so often one would leave, dig a little bit, and then rejoin the circle. It's very ritualistic. Buffy hears a growl from behind her. She turns around, and from the low-laying fog, an old coyote appears. It's definitely Hopscotch. He howls, and the coyotes charge at her. Buffy kicks Hopscotch in the face, and he goes flying. Buffy actually beats up a lot of coyotes in this book. It's a pretty funny visual. There's too many coyotes coming at her, and Buffy falls down the hill and lands on top of the disturbed grave. She runs, coyotes chasing her, and she takes refuge on top of a mausoleum, but it has a slanted roof. She's punching coyotes, they're trying to get to her, trying to bite her. 200 feet away, she spots a familiar mausoleum, and she knows there's a secret passageway that leads to an underground vampire lair. Desperate times, she makes a break for it, coyotes on her heels. Buffy makes it to the mausoleum. She's a little bit scratched up. She's holding the door back while coyotes are barking and trying to break in. She spots the secret passageway entrance and makes a break for it. The coyotes break down the door and they sense an evil vampire presence and they back away. Buffy continues down the gross tunnels and she finds a utility ladder. She climbs up it and she's in a power plant. There are electrical transformers everywhere. She's gross, her clothes are ripped. She heads home to go to sleep, but she's gonna go see Giles tomorrow. They need to figure this out. Buffy wakes up late. She calls Giles' phone number, but he's not picking up, so he must be at the library. Her mom also left her a note, and Joyce is away golfing. Yeah, sure. That's a hobby that Joyce could have. Buffy gets to the school. Teachers are there preparing for the new year. She's hoping they don't see her, so she kind of sneaks in, but she gets to the library. Giles is surprised to see her. He makes a joke about the school not starting yet. She must be excited. But she's here on business. Vampires? No. Coyotes? What? And she shows him all the scratches on her arms. Giles is, of course, pretty much like, why the hell are you fighting coyotes? And Buffy asks about were-coyotes. Is it possible? And Giles gets excited. He says, yeah, there are were-crocodiles in Africa. There are were-sharks in the South Pacific. Werewolves, obviously, the most popular because of European influence. Also, like, were-sharks? Like, I've never heard of that, but that's pretty badass. He also mentions that were-coyotes have been mentioned in indigenous people folklore. Giles questions her, why do you think were-coyotes? And Buffy just says, the way they looked at me. And she also mentions the weird cemetery ritual they were doing. Giles says coyotes are known for weird behavior. It could be totally natural. Trust Buffy! This is such a theme in the early seasons. Like, come on guys, just trust Buffy. She knows what she's talking about. Also, why would anyone want to be a were-coyote? And Giles says it makes sense. Coyotes live most places and they can be near people and no one would really question it. He goes to research. It's hard to find were-coyotes, but there's lots of skinwalker references. They often live in groups. It's an indigenous person's tradition. They turn into the animal by wearing its skin and performing a secret ceremony. Buffy then asks him about Coyote Moon. Has he heard of it? And Coyote Moon is a blue moon. A blue moon is when there are 2 full moons in a month, so it's very rare. Coyote Moon is a folk term used in the southwestern United States. It appears red on the 9th lunar month in August. The appearance of Coyote Moon is often associated with trickery and magic. So it's the right time of year. Buffy fills him in on the carnies at the carnival and how she thinks they're the coyotes running around town. She comes up with a plan. They're gonna go check out the cemetery, check out that disturbed grave, see if there's any information, and then they're gonna go get Xander and Willow and save them from these carnies. Meanwhile, Willow and Xander are on their double date with Lonnie and Rose. Willow can't stop thinking about Xander, and Rose does not like Willow. Rose and Lonnie are also asking a lot of questions about Buffy, and Willow and Xander just kind of respond with, Buffy's Buffy. They're eating lunch, they had a tour of the carnival. There are other carnies there with other young teenagers. Seems like they're also on dates. Rose takes Xander away. He's eager. She's gonna show you where we sleep. And Willow's kind of concerned. Lonnie's now excited to have Willow alone. She's feeling a little bit uneasy. She panics and she's like, hey, I want to go see the scary fun house. And Lonnie's just like, sure, let's go. And she's just like, why did I say that? Like, I don't want to go see the scary fun house. They arrive and it's locked and Willow's relieved. But Lonnie, of course, has a key. So he unlocks and in they go. Buffy and Giles arrive at the cemetery. There are 2 cops there, one young, one old. They're checking out the disturbed grave. A groundskeeper had reported the damage. Buffy notices the name on the grave is Spurs Hardaway, and he has some like Wild West symbols next to his name. The cops are pretty dismissive of Buffy and Giles, but they can't figure out what happened. And Buffy tells them, like, hey, I saw some coyotes recently in the area. Maybe it was them. And the cops are all, yeah, that makes sense. Case closed. Thanks, Buffy. They ask them about Spurs Hardaway on the grave, and the old cop tells them that he was an old Wild West star at the end of the last century. He had a big world tour, like a magic show, and it toured the entire world. He retired in Sunnydale, but was shot dead. Giles notices that Spur's Harderay died exactly 100 years ago. That's strange. They thank the cops, and Giles is excited to research. He wonders if Willow wants to help. Buffy's like, oh, yes, Willow. Xander, I have to go get them away from these carnies. And she's off to go get them. I hate these next two parts so much. Lonnie and Willow are in the scary funhouse, and they're making out. Willow's having kind of a nice time. She's trying not to think about Xander. But then Lonnie starts pushing a bit. His kissing starts to feel, quote, a little bit insisting. He's insisting for more. He's moving down to her neck, and Willow stops it. Good, Willow, good. And he questions, like, hey, we're alone in the scary funhouse. Why are we stopping? And Willow's kind of just like, I'm proper. I don't know you. And he pulls like I'm only here for a few days. Come on, babe. Ugh, what a creep. I hate him. And Willow, she wants to get to know him more. And then Lonnie's like, okay, Willow, we'll play by your rules. We'll get to know each other more. Maybe I can even stay longer than a few days. Maybe I'll stay here a month. Ugh, I hate this guy. But he's like, let's have a second date tonight. After the carnival closes at midnight, we'll go on a second date. We'll get to know each other. And the charm works on Willow. God damn it. Xander is waiting outside of Rose's small trailer while she's cleaning up. And while he's waiting, he's just thinking about why is Rose interested in him? Like, he's just Xander. She's super hot. Like, he just has no confidence whatsoever. Rose opens the door and she's wearing a silk robe. Some of her tattoos are showing. He goes in and it's very cave-like. There are posters covering every inch of the wall, little figurines, a tiny bed. There's a giant sea chest. It smells like incense, and she has a tattooing station in the corner. Xander is curious about the sea chest. And I guess sea chest, I'm kind of just visualizing like a treasure chest, I guess. But he goes to go touch it, and Rose freaks out. Don't touch that! I wonder what could be in there. She tells him to sit on the bed next to her and tells him to take his shirt off. She wants to tattoo a rose on him. Xander will belong to her. Oh, these people, what the hell is this? These are teenagers. Oh my gosh. Anyway, he's nervous, of course. And she's like, it's not so bad. And she like lifts up the robe on her upper thigh and shows him some of her tattoos. And then she's like, ooh, if I get this tattoo, I'll show you even more. And she's pressuring him, and it's so uncomfortable. I hate it so much. And Xander's just kind of nervous laughing and trying to get out of it, but he's strongly considering it. And Rose tells him, like Lonnie told the Willow, come back at midnight, you'll see more. And they start making out. And then Buffy breaks in and says, turn him loose. Rose is all, back off, he's mine now. And Xander, being frickin' Xander, is like, there's plenty of me to go around. And Buffy's like, shut up, I need to talk to you now. Rose tells her to get out, and Buffy gets a little defensive, and Rose punches her in the face, sending her out of the trailer, and lunges at her throat. Buffy notices she's strong, like supernatural strong. Buffy pushes her off, and Xander breaks it up. Xander is mad at Buffy for ruining his date, says she's acting jealous, and they start to argue. Rose just stands there and laughs. She's got to get to work. She tells Xander, you know where and what time to find me. And Xander is just letting Buffy have it. Buffy's just like, I was trying to save you. But he won't reason. He won't listen to her. Rose and Lonnie are being nice to them. Why is she acting like this? They are normal. They're not monsters. You're the monster. Damn, Xander, like what the hell? Buffy asks Xander where Willow is, but he won't tell her. He says, you didn't want me, Buffy, so mellow out, and he storms off. Frickin' heck. Now this is just like bad Xander traits just elevated. This pissed me off. I really hated him in this moment. And Buffy's just standing there like, well, I messed that up. Is Xander right? Am I acting crazy? Did I just ruin a friendship? No, girl, you're doing the right thing. She says, stop feeling sorry for myself. The carnies who told her where Rose's trailer was are now gone, and Hopscotch is there watching her with his wrench. She goes to see Giles. She finds him researching in the library, naturally. He's found some old posters of Spurs Hardaway's Wild West show. It traveled the world. It was a huge production. Kind of has shades of a carnival. He was known for his trick of turning into animals. Before he was a big star, Spurs was an army scout. He spent years living with indigenous people. Skinwalking takes extreme shamanistic skill. When Spurs was shot dead at 81, he looked 40. He could have also mastered de-aging. The bullet that killed Spurs was also a silver bullet. So it seems like Spurs Hardaway was a skinwalker. Giles is upset. They've taken an indigenous people's power and tradition and taken it for gain by doing this big Wild West production. Also, Giles has been doing some lunar calculations, and guess what? Tonight is the Coyote Moon. What are the chances? With all this information, with the Coyote Moon, with the weird cemetery ritual, Buffy and Giles conclude that these carnies are going to resurrect Spurs Hardaway tonight. So how do they tackle this? They can't kill these people. They're being annoying, but they're not going around killing half the town. Also, they need proof. If they're skinwalkers, there must be animal skins. So they plan to go to the carnival and they're going to try to find one of these animal skins. It's now early in the evening, and Willow's hanging out with the carnies at the carnival, and they're all playing poker, and she is cleaning house. She's taking all their money. She's got like $300. One of the carnies calls her a poker witch, which is pretty funny because, yeah, she becomes a witch, and this book was written way before she even dabbled in any of that. Hopscotch leaves to go keep an eye out for a vandal. I'm guessing that just means Buffy. Xander, meanwhile, he's at home napping. Buffy and Giles arrive, and Giles is in awe of the carnival, of course, because he's British and he's old, and he's never seen cotton candy before, so this is all foreign to him. Okay. Their plan is to break into Rose's trailer and see if they can find any animal skins. They go to the dunk tank, and Rose is there working, so they're in the clear. They get to the trailer. Buffy says, I'm going to go in. If anyone's coming, just bang on the side, and they'll meet back at his car. Buffy breaks the handle and heads in. She's looking around, and she spots the big sea chest. Like, where else would it be? There's a lock on it, and she breaks that too. She's going through it. There's clothes, old dresses. At the bottom, she finds fur. Bingo! And Giles bangs on the side. But it might be too late. Buffy hears a growl, and a shadowy creature attacks. Buffy throws the chest at the creature, and it shatters into pieces. She runs out the door, but lands flat on her face in the dirt. Outside, Hopscotch, Lonnie, and Rose are there waiting for her, and Rose is pissed that Buffy broke into her trailer again. Buffy looks behind her to look at the door of the trailer, and the creature was just a big guard dog, husky-like. There's a weird thought Buffy has where maybe that dog is human and belongs to Rose as a pet. That's gross. But I guess I shouldn't really kink shame. They question her, and Buffy's playing dumb. She's acting like she's the jealous girlfriend of Xander. They're not really buying it, though. They tell her not to worry about Xander and Willow. They're in good hands. So what should they do with her? They should lock her up until after. After what exactly? But they agree, and Hopscotch knocks her out with the wrench that he's been holding this entire book. Giles followed the plan. He's at his car waiting for Buffy. But time is passing. He's very worried, and he feels guilty about leaving her. And time's passing. 20 minutes, 40 minutes, almost an hour. The full moon is rising, and it's red. He decides to head back to the carnival to look for Buffy. Buffy wakes up. But she wakes up in a small metal box. There's tape over her mouth, and her hands are tied behind her back. That sounds terrifying. She starts kicking, but she's told to stop. She works the tape off of her mouth and starts yelling. The box opens and it's Hopscotch. He threatens to cut out her tongue if she keeps it up. But Buffy notices that he sounds kind of desperate. He seems nervous about something. He closes the box and Buffy's really in no position to argue. A few minutes later, the box opens again and he takes the rest of the tape off of her mouth. Hopscotch starts a conversation with her. He doesn't believe that Buffy's a lovesick teenager. She's smart. She knows things. Something about her the first night they met. And Buffy is like, at the carnival? And he's like, no, on the street when I was with the pack. And Buffy is just like, aha, where coyotes? I knew it. He's impressed and oddly excited. He's been roaming around for a century, and Buffy is the first one to figure it out. What is she? Instead of saying she's the Slayer, Buffy says she's a witch. She doesn't want any competition in her town. And Hopscotch is like, he knew it. One of us, one of us. Does she know about Coyote Moon? Buffy says yes, and he just starts hollering with laughter. It's actually pretty cute. Buffy brings up Spur's Hardaway. You can do whatever you want, just don't hurt anyone. Hopscotch is all, well, bringing someone back from the dead requires blood sacrifice. A lot. Young and pure. It's all coming together. He says Spurs is the meanest and evilest sorcerer who's ever lived. Buffy tells Hopscotch to let her out. Why else would he be telling her all this? You're either really super evil, or you don't want Spurs back. He opens up. He's lonely. He's sick of carny life. No home, no family, no good food, no comfy mattress. He's 175 years old. The younger ones are all excited, but he is over it. Part of him just wants to run off and live life as a coyote. Things won't be better with Spurs back. Hopscotch was the one who shot him dead. Spurs is gonna be pissed. He lifts Buffy out of the box and they're in the back of a storage truck. There's tools everywhere. Spurs was bad. They were doing all the work, but Spurs was keeping all the money. And he cuts Buffy free. And Buffy asks if he wants to be partners. But Hopscotch, nah, he's heading for the hills. She's on her own. But he tells Buffy that Spurs was buried with a grizzly bear skin. He's the only man who has ever been able to turn into one. Hopscotch grabs his coyote skin and tells Buffy she might want to look away. This is weird. And Buffy tells him, I've seen weird. He strips naked except for the coyote skin. He has a bundle of dried leaves that are tied together and lights them on fire. The truck fills with smoke and Buffy could smell sage and cedar. He starts singing in a strange language and starts smudging his body with the leaves. Got down on his hands and knees, still singing, sometimes growling. The coyote pelt starts to merge with his skin, kind of like a parasite, and his singing starts to become more guttural and animal-like. And before Buffy knows it, he's no longer a man, he's a coyote. Hopscotch looks at Buffy and starts pawing at the door in the back of the truck, asking to be let out. She opens the door and he runs out into the darkness. She heads back to the car. The moon is now high and kind of pinkish. Giles isn't there. She's kind of mad because that was the plan, but I mean, come on, he was trying to help you. He was worried. It's 10 o'clock, 2 hours until midnight. Willow and Xander are at the carnival waiting for Lonnie and Rose. They're eating burgers. Xander's so excited for his date with Rose and so happy to be having a fleeting summer romance. It's so romantic. Willow's feeling apprehensive, and she wishes it was just her and Xander on a real date. She also feels guilty about Buffy. What if Buffy's right? She's usually right. Xander's a complete jerk, calls Buffy a ditz, which feels extreme even for Xander standards. Willow thinks she sees Giles in the mass of people, all confused, but the person quickly disappears. No way that was really Giles. Lonnie interrupts. They're going to close the carnival early at 11:30, and it's going to become a double date. Him, Rose, Xander, Willow. Willow's relieved, Xander's sad, but Willow has $300 from Polka to burn, so her and Xander go off and wait until 11:30. Buffy is sticking to the outskirts of the carnival, looking for Giles in the crowd, being careful not to be spotted by any of the carnies. She's having a hard time finding him though, there's too many people, and she sees her old friend, the clown, at the dunk tank. She goes behind and threatens him to make an announcement with his microphone or she's going to hit the switch and he's going to fall in. He's just like, girl, you crazy. But she's like, do it now, or I'm gonna dunk you in. And he's like, fine, what do you want? She says, tell the librarian to go back to his car. So the clown makes the announcement, librarian, go back to your car. And somehow that works. Buffy and Giles meet up at his car in the parking lot. A coyote jumps on the car and attacks Buffy and Giles, and Buffy beats the crap out of this coyote and knocks it unconscious. Absolutely wild. But they drive off and Buffy fills Giles in on everything she learned from Hopscotch. They have to go to the cemetery, potentially get shovels, dig up spurs, and get the bear skin before the carnies can resurrect him. Buffy's also thinking about Willow and Xander and just hope they are safe until midnight. They arrive at the cemetery, and at the gate there are 3 coyotes chasing an Irish setter. Buffy and Giles spring into action. They save the dog, scaring the coyotes off. Buffy comforts the Irish setter. It's scared, but as she's petting it, she realizes it has no collar, and it kind of has a weird smell. The Irish setter stops shaking, and it attacks. It clamps onto Buffy's arm. It was a trap. The 3 coyotes return. They must have been guarding the cemetery. Buffy and Giles get mauled. It's actually pretty violent. Buffy manages to fight them off and save Giles. They get in his car and they drive off, but they are in rough shape. Buffy's arm is all mangled and eats stitches. Giles is all cut and scratched up. They can't go to the hospital because they're in a rush and there'll be too many questions, but Giles thankfully knows somewhere they can go. It's 11:30 at the carnival and Lonnie gets on the speakers and makes the announcement. They're going to be closing a half hour early. Willow and Xander have been having a good time. She still has a little bit of money left over and she's going to give it back to the carnies. She's too nice. Xander's been very annoying, asking Willow where he should get his rose tattoo. Willow kind of voices her concern about it, and Xander admits he's upset that it's now a double date. He just wishes it was him and Rose. And if Willow's nervous, like, she can go. Like, he'll call her a cab. Like, what a jerk. Like, Xander's always had some issues, but he was never this bad. It's just so aggravating to read. Willow's gut is telling her this is a weird situation, but she wants to stay. She's going to stay, only to keep an eye on Xander. Make sure he's safe. Lonnie and Rose arrive. They're acting a bit strange. Willow and Xander list some sights in Sunnydale they could go see. But no, they want to go to the cemetery. Okay, sure. That's strange. They leave in Lonnie's pickup truck. Xander has to ride in the back of the cab. Good. Buffy and Giles are getting patched up by one Dr. Hersher at his practice at his house. He has 40 years of medical practice. He gave them bandages, some medicine, and they're a bit woozy, but they can't go home. They gotta save the day again. I guess Giles helped this guy find some obscure journals and holistic medical cures. I don't know if this guy is like a reference to something or maybe a friend of the author, but it's just a very weird scene with no explanation, so close to the end of the book. But yeah, that happened, and Buffy and Giles are good to go. Buffy tells Giles to stop by her house. She needs to grab a weapon, and she grabs a sterling silver carving knife. Giles has an idea. He doesn't know it's going to work, but he trained hunting hounds in his youth, and he goes to get a dog whistle that only canines can hear. It's worth a try. I do like that the author gave the characters some past character quirks that don't really make a lot of sense, but it's interesting enough. Giles training hounds, Joyce going golfing. He mentions Buffy's grandmother living in Florida, Buffy horseback riding as a kid in LA. Buffy and Giles arrive at the carnival at 11:55 and they are shocked to see it closed. No lights, no loud music. It's completely abandoned, except for some teenagers stargazing in their cars. Buffy's heart sinks thinking about Willow and Xander. Willow, Xander, Rose, and Lonnie arrive at the cemetery after stopping at Dairy Queen. Finally, there's ice cream. Willow notices there are other cars there. That's strange, but Lonnie says there must be a house party nearby. They're walking through the cemetery. Xander and Rose are making out a ton. It's gross. Lonnie is kind of coaxing Willow along, and she's having flashbacks to Welcome to the Hellmouth with that vampire in the mausoleum. That's a nice little reference. They make it to the part of the cemetery where there are the big mausoleums, including Spurs Hardaway's grave with the big moon spire. And there are 7 other carnies there with 7 other dates, other local teenagers. Lonnie says it's an end of summer party, and Xander's like, well, why don't you just tell us? And Lonnie says they're going to put on a little show for them. The carnies gather around Spurs' grave, and Lonnie starts giving a little bit of a speech, saying Spurs was a great man. He was their guiding light. Tonight's a perfect night, and it's a perfect moon. And the carnies start doing the coyote ritual, stripping naked, making the weird sounds, singing, putting on the coyote skins. The teenagers start to get a little bit weirded out. The girls in the group start to leave, but are stopped by a dozen coyotes blocking their escape. Xander says, next time I'll listen to Buffy. Oh my god, I'm gonna slap him. Moonlight hits the spire on top of the monument. There are sounds of wood splintering and earth rumbling. The coyotes start digging. A flash of light hits the moon spire and sparks go everywhere. A rotting skeleton starts to emerge out of the grave, and he's all Wild Westy. Ooh, it's good to be back. Spurs Hardaway is here. He uses the bear skin to transform into a giant grizzly bear. He's 10 feet tall, massive, and roars so loud. Suddenly, the coyotes start looking around and acting strangely, and most start running away. Out of nowhere, we hear Buffy say no to fur, and she flips over the bear, stabbing him with the sterling silver carving knife. The other teenagers run away. The bear crashes into the spire and it crumbles to the ground. The giant monument starts getting swallowed into the earth. We hear the bear growling, and it turns into human screams, and then nothing. Xander goes up to Buffy and says, "We believed you the whole time." I need her to roundhouse kick him in the face. There's not an apology or anything. Buffy, Willow, and Xander get to the cemetery gate and see Giles' car being chased by coyotes while he's blowing his dog whistle. That worked out all right. Willow and Xander ask Buffy if she'll walk them home. And Buffy asks Willow, was he a good kisser? And Willow says yes. But they need to apologize. I'm mad. The next morning, Buffy, Willow, Xander, and Giles arrive at the carnival, and it's abandoned. There is nothing except for a bonfire that's burning animal furs. They wonder if maybe the carnies will decide to be human now. Buffy turns around, and there's an old coyote on the hill staring at her. She waves, and the coyote turns around and leaves. And that, my friends, is the story of Coyote Moon. So was it any good? Actually, yeah, I did find myself enjoying this story quite a bit. It felt like a Lost Season 1 episode, or if there was ever a Buffy Western. It just seemed like there was a lot of Western influences in it. And it felt like a complete story, whereas Halloween Reign was just like set pieces that didn't really have anything to do with each other. This was just like a beginning, middle, end. Carnival, coyotes, everything was complete. I was very satisfied with that. And the author had a pretty good grasp on the characters and the Buffyverse. I really enjoyed the Buffy Giles dynamic. It was super solid. Them teaming up, figuring out the problem and solutions. Willow stayed pretty true to herself, thankfully. Xander, I don't know what happened there. He was just despicable, honestly. And I like Xander. He's problematic, but he's a 16-year-old boy. But he was just so rude in this book. That was my big complaint. I really enjoyed Buffy just being intuitive and figuring shit out. Like, hell yeah, that's Buffy. For the original characters, I did find Hopscotch very interesting. And I really enjoyed the scene between him and Buffy where they just kind of figure each other out. It was very charming and well written. Lonnie and Rose, they were disgusting groomers and I hated them so much. So I guess they were good villains, but man, did they make me uncomfortable. I also really enjoyed the summer setting because that's never something we got to explore in the show. So yeah, I think this was a solid young adult Buffy adventure. I would recommend it. And I've really got nothing else to say. I feel like I've talked enough. Thank you so much for listening to this, and I'll be back soon with the third Buffy novel, Night of the Living Rerun by Arthur Brian Cover. Thank you again. See you next time.